Hey everybody, my name is Kile Clabaugh and I have Roland Schendel here, Professor of Literacy at MSU Denver. And we wanted to talk about text sets a little bit and how to use multiple primary sources in your classroom, and just throw some ideas around that might get you thinking on different strategies and adaptations for your own classroom. Raleigh, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hey, I'm Raleigh. I'm delighted to learn with you. And if you have my contact information as a result of this, then just reach out with questions, comments, celebrations, situations, needs for resources. I'm here for you. So contact me.
Yeah, so Raleigh, we kind of chose some similar pictures, some not so similar pictures. I'm wondering if you could kind of walk us through our thinking with this.
So the question as classroom teachers might start with why a text set? What purposes might a text set achieve? And how do I acquire text sets? So why a text set? Learners vary and accessibility is everything. So we want to accentuate viewing possibilities, listening possibilities, reading possibilities. But in this sense, with our example, it's all about leveling the playing field, so to speak, in terms of literacy. And most of our learners can view and observe. If that's not the case, then we need to adapt to meet their needs. But with these three examples, it's about viewing. So how can we level the playing field and support all learners in terms of accessing thinking and the space needed for that with these three sources? Another thing to question is, why have a text set? Why have multiple text or sources in this case? And that's to promote diversity in views, diversity in thinking opportunities, and a wide variety of perspectives. So to enhance and embrace cultural humility, our notion of equity and inclusion, and to diversify our thinkers kind of perspectives, no matter of where they came from as learners, their upbringing, their culture, their background knowledge. So
Yeah, and as we think about kind of what we want to show our students, whether that's we're teaching a lesson about community or we're teaching a lesson about child labor, whatever your students' level is, I think visuals can offer that inroad to that abstract thinking where you can really start to make connections where there might not be any, or start to make connections where there might be some, and really begin to make those arguments on your own.
Kyle, that gives me goosebumps because listening to you talk about this, it reminds us as teachers to really focus on text in terms of the literal, the figurative, the conceptual, and how can we include multiple texts to support learners in terms of those kind of three levels of thinking. What we choose certainly guides them, but also creates space for us to inspire them to add to the texts themselves. So as teachers, we should never work harder than our students. We should be thinking, okay, I'm going to set the stage. I'm going to create space for learning here. And then I'm going to challenge my students to find additional sources, visual, written, or auditory, to add to this text set. Now, you may be thinking, how can kindergartners do that? Well, you might have to have a big collection of texts that add to this that they can sift through, but your classroom library can provide those texts. So you can say, add to this text set by going out to our classroom library and finding a picture book or finding a resource in the classroom that adds to this. With older students, you can just say, jump on the Library of Congress collection website and find something, a text or two or 20 to add to this. Go as deep as you like. diversify as much as necessary, and follow your kind of passion and your background and your experience to enhance this learning experience.
Yeah, and not just, we don't only want to just inspire students and challenge students to, you know, come up with these things on their own, but we also want to challenge them to challenge the primary source itself, so that they can gain a deeper understanding of what the primary source is saying to you as a person, what the photographer might be saying, what might be left out of the images, so that we can build some more context around why these images were chosen, or what was going on during the time period.
Yeah, that absolutely just speaks to, okay, as teachers, how can we make this bigger? How can we change this? How can we modify this practice or this process? And that's a matter of, how are these related? That could be an integral question to, offer to your students. How are these unrelated? How, you add an additional text to this set, and, it's like, kind of like one of these kids is doing his own thing, one of these kids is not like the other, like which one doesn't fit and why, and or challenging your students to add complementary text to this and add texts that just don't fit. I would argue that there probably isn't a text that just doesn't fit, because when you think literally, figuratively, and conceptually, if your students are really thinking on those three broad levels, there's probably some connection somewhere, right? Starting with the letter of, or this relates to World War II or whatever. So that's the beauty of teaching and learning, right? Creating the space for your students to just go crazy with this and turn it into project-based learning, where you've just inspired them with a simple text set.
Yeah, and the best part about these is, there's really no, if you approach historical inquiry in a way that allows students to do their own inquiry and do their own knowledge discovery, the work is on them, right? Raleigh, you always say that don't do more work than the students do, or whatever, so this is really about making them do as much work as you can. They're going to do the thinking, they're going to do the questioning, and you can sit that back and kind of guide them towards their interests in research, or connections to their own lives that you might know about, things like that.
And the real key to this, in terms of like being a purposeful classroom teacher, is to create levels of accessibility and levels of enhancement. All of our students, we want them to learn more and to learn at an accelerated rate based on what they're able to achieve. So reaching out and looking for written text or auditory text to really blow up the scope of this learning experience from the tip of the iceberg that these three primary sources offer, and engage students further, and then really challenge them to think in terms of auditory, visual, and any other text, artifacts. What could you add to this? Like a rock from the playground, how might this play a significant role in the learning experience that we've created here? So really making it accessible to all students and invigorating their engagement through really profound flexibility and open purpose.
Yeah, so we chose, all visual images, um, and as we think about like audio, or different types of media, video, um, and how those will be accessible to other students, and how we can make these accessible to those students who might not be. Um, I think it's important, to recognize that there's so many connections that we can make for our students, that they might not be able to make for themselves. But those connections that they make for themselves are going to be so long lasting and instill in their memories that um, that they discovered, all this on their own and did it for themselves.
Check out our other kind of posts about this and ideas in terms of practical applications for capturing students' thinking in terms of caption writer, in terms of 3-2-1, fourfold, and all the like. So look for other opportunities to make sense of this and practically capture student thinking in terms of the learning experiences you create.
Yeah, just thinking about fourfold. I know we've used it multiple times, and we'll link it in the description here if you don't have it. But use this primary source and do it on economic status or poverty, and then the next day do the same word using the fourfold with this image, and see how our understandings kind of change depending on what source we're looking at or what time period we're looking at. Any other last thoughts, Raleigh?
No, I mean, this is finding interesting or, just weirdly odd images on in the primary source collections on the Library of Congress is all, they're all fodder for creating powerful learning experiences with students. And really express your interest and your passion in, like, what the heck's going on in there, and use things like the ORQ observe reflect question as a formalized process to be like really seeing the details and showcasing your thinking, and then creating questions that inspire further research and inquiry. That's all a part of the natural process of learning, so go for it.
Have a great day, y'all, and hope you enjoy the rest of Teacher Librarian Day.